halfway through, I told myself either I can bring out these stilts and they say, oh, this guy's weird, and they're talking about me when I leave, or they don't mention my name from here on out for forever.
Yep.
And I took a gamble, and I told Jesse Cole, I said, hey, I got some stilts, and I don't know what I can do with them. I know I can walk on them. And he looked at me, and his eyes lit up, and he said, can you hit a baseball? My first words, like, ever hardly to Jesse Cole, I said, well, yeah, I could hit a baseball on these things. And so the Party Animals took the 2023 season. So that tells you right there it's not scripted.
Yeah. The Generals were not beating the Globetrotters 51% of the time. And welcome to Batter Up, the podcast where we swing for the fences in every episode. Today we are joined by the tallest baseball player in the world. I'll go so far as to say the tallest athlete in the world. That's right. We're joined by the Savanah Bananas' very own Dakota Albritton, but you know him better as Stilts. Stilts, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? How you doing? Thank you for having me
here.
Oh,
I'm doing awesome.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Let's address the elephant in the room, aka the biggest animal in the room, which is typically you. I know you go against the Party Animals typically, but how did you get started stilting?
That's a funny question. So as a kid growing up, I always had crazy balance, super good at like riding a bicycle on the back tire, doing a stoppie, like anything like that. I can ride a unicycle forwards, backwards, upstairs, downstairs, anything like that. Flipping skateboards. That was what I exceeded at. I was really good at it. I never really practiced at it at all. And it's just anything like that always came super natural to me. And my parents always pushed to find new things for me to do. Every around Christmas time, every year, I'd get this new crazy gift that they would think that I'd have to get on and practice and learn at. But most of the times I'd get on it and go right with it. So I was 10 years old and woke up Christmas morning and I had got some stilts. Never laid eyes on stilts before in my life. And I hopped on them and ran across my yard, and I was like, oh, wow, that came super easy. And then I put them up.
No way. That is such a fun story. So you have more than just stilting talents. You have, like, all the unique talents.
Yeah, I tell everybody all the time, the unicycle is, out of everything in this world I know how to do, that is by far the hardest thing. And I don't even use it. I don't use it at all. I just ride around my neighborhood every now and then just to pass the time. But as far as entertainment wise, I don't use it at all.
So is it, I think we're all wondering, is it coming out in Banana Ball next summer, like the unicycle?
I've actually had it in Banana Land the first season, and our pregame plaza party, I'd go out there, I'd ride around, I'd clap hands, shake hands on it and everything, and then that's when the next season's when the stilts really came about, and that's whenever I really started perfecting the craft of playing baseball and being on stilts, and the unicycle was no longer important.
Okay, but the stilts are so unique in what the visual that they provide. You see the umpire standing on the box to view your strike zone. We see you on the mound. Like, what's the most fun thing to do on the baseball field on stilts?
By far, the most favoriteest thing that I do is getting to interact with the upcoming banana ballers, as we call them, the younger generation. But just pitching is really what I like to do. But if now getting a barrel, that's the best thing.
Oh,
whenever you make contact 10 foot in the air, there's something different about it. I don't know what it's just everything. It's just a big loud noise, and I'm running to first. There's no rush that I've ever had in my life that's anything near that.
Yeah. So you have a baseball background, I would imagine.
100%.
You grew up playing. Okay. So what percentage like swing can you give on stilts? Because you can't do 100% like backside fire off that. You're just gonna fall, right?
I tell everybody a lot of times in some aspects of the game, like every baseball player has that one thing I feel like that they struggle with throughout their whole baseball career, fundamental wise. And for me, that was always staying on my back foot, staying back and staying loaded. And now using the stilts every single time I'm in the box, if I get out front, it's not a good day for me, you know. So them stilts force me. They force me to stay back. And honestly, I think on my 2 feet, they've made me a better hitter than I ever was in my baseball career prior to the stilts, honestly. And that sounds really, really crazy, but I was never a power guy. And in BP now, every now and then I'll get a wild hair and hop off the stilts and take a few cuts, and I can really hit it a lot harder than I ever could growing up.
Wow, there might be like a tip or drill in this, huh?
Maybe.
I thought you were gonna say that the thing you struggled with the most was chasing the high pitch. So you just went up there.
The high pitch back then is a low pitch now. So
yeah, yeah. Is your strike zone like how is it defined then?
It's just like yours. If you were 10 feet tall, it'd be from your knees to your chest. Perfect strike zone is same size. Everybody says my strike zone got bigger. It didn't. It just got taller. You moved it on up.
Just shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So question for you regarding banana ball. How did you get started with the bananas?
That's my favoriteest question to ever answer. Every time I get asked it, I love it. So, like I said, I've played baseball my whole life. And college ball, I had one offer to go play, and I had to go straight to work. So baseball it was in the cards, but in my mind, baseball was no longer in the cards for me after high school ball. And my senior year of high school, I went and we made it to the state championship game. And at the time, I had never heard of the Savanah Bananas. I didn't know Grayson Stadium existed. I've never seen it, never heard of it, anything like that. And we just so happened to show up 4 hours away from my hometown to play our state championship at Grayson Stadium. And so that was my first introduction to Grayson. And it was so cool. I was like, what the heck is all this? This was in 2019. I was walking around the stadium. I said, what the heck is all this banana stuff? This just looks goofy. Like, who would even play here?
Uh-huh.
And then 3 years later, I went to pouring concrete. I worked in El Paso, Texas. I was a pipe fitter at a paper mill. I've done quite a bit of work. And then one day I was at work and my mom called and she said, "Hey, sign you up for a baseball tryout." And I hadn't played ball in 3 years, 2 or 3 years, I can't remember. And I said, "Why'd you do that? I haven't touched a baseball in so long." She said, "The team said bring your weirdest talents. It's an entertainment baseball team." And I told them you could walk on stilts. And I'm like, I haven't done that in 10 years neither. So why are you you're signing me up for 2 things I haven't done in years? And I showed up to tryouts, and I pulled the stilts out. Well, halfway through the tryouts, I didn't take the stilts in the beginning of tryouts. And I'm out there, and I was always a traditional baseball player. I had my hat perfectly forward. My shirt was tucked in perfectly straight, and belt always on. I showed up to this tryout in my high school uniform, and like I said, everything is to a T. And I walk in, and there's people in kangaroo costumes. There's people with no shirt on. I'm like, how do these, like, what is this? What is going on? And about an hour and a half, 2 hours into trials, I'm like, wow, I'm not getting the looks I need. These people are not going to remember my name whenever I leave this place because I was rusty at the actual game. I was out there doing everything, trying to be a baseball player. And I realized really fast that's not the attention I was needing. And halfway through, I told myself either I can bring out these stilts and they say, "Oh, this guy's weird," and they're talking about me when I leave, or they don't mention my name from here on out for forever.
Yep.
And I took a gamble and I told Jesse Cole, I said, "Hey, I got some stilts, and I don't know what I can do with them. I know I can walk on them." And he looked at me and his eyes lit up and he said, "Can you hit a baseball?" My first words, like, ever hardly to Jesse Cole, I said, "Hell yeah, I could hit a baseball on these things." And keep in mind, I hadn't walked on them in 10 years. The first time I walked on them was at tryouts. We stopped on the way there to get dog collars to wrap them around my legs because the old straps were dry rotted. So I was coming in here with some makeshift stuff to hold these things on my legs. Hadn't walked on them in 10 years. And I'm walking up to the plate with WJCL, the news crew, everybody in my face with cameras. First time in my life I ever had cameras. I was shaking. I was tall as a tree, and I was probably shaking like one. And I was walking up there, and it's all a blur to me now, but like that was super special. And that's how it all started. Once I hit the first baseball, Jesse Cole said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "we got something here," and he loved it. And I've been getting better and better on him ever since.
What an awesome story. Like, I can tell why you're excited to answer that question. Like, there are so many layers to that. Like, the dog collar just put it over the top. Like, you didn't even have a way to strap it to your legs. So I presume at tryouts was the first time you had ever swung on stilts.
That was the first time the thought has ever even crossed my mind. I didn't know. I was thinking that they were going to put me as a mascot or something, me out front of the stadium or something. I had no idea where the two could be combined. And then Jesse Cole, with his imagination, he popped the idea off, and it's turned into something that's truly changed my life.
Yeah, and you say that was the first time that thought of hitting on stilts ever crossed your mind. I would venture to guess that was the first time it crossed any human's mind in history to get up on stilts. Like, that's the last thing you would think to do. Like, I could even see if they were like, oh, let's throw him out in left field and see if he can rob a home run. But the idea of like stepping into a box or even pitching on a mound, you obviously have like a natural balance and athleticism that leads you to be able to do this stuff. But the fact that we now have a platform for it with Banana Ball is so cool, and it makes it so interesting to watch.
I tell everybody that all the time. I was in the very, very right place at the very right time. Like, Banana Ball, professionally wise, like for the Banana Ball League, that was the beginning of it all, and I just so happened to hear about it, and have that weird talent to be there when it all really started.
Yeah, and I mean, to hear, I mean, I know the work down in El Paso, like pouring concrete, that's hard work. That's real work right there. And to shift from that to Banana Ball, which is, put a smile on, have fun with the fans, just be as authentically unique as you can be. That's a night and day career change there. It changed your life. Yeah.
Me and my fiance, we were just talking about that yesterday, and she said, me and her had never really sat down and just been like, hey, this is completely different than we ever seen ourselves, and we've just kind of went with it. And I think we're just now starting to really understand how big of a change it made to our whole life just by being in Savannah that weekend.
That is so cool. Have you thanked Mom for that?
I have every time.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I've been on the phone with her 3 or 4 times today. I told her thank you. Like, I tell her thank you all the time. Without her, the idea would have never been brought up. The team would have never, the tryouts would have never been seen. I would be an outsider looking in, wishing, hey, I wonder if these people could use a Stilts guy. If I wouldn't have been there that weekend. It's so crazy how one decision can change somebody's life.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Banana Ball itself has changed and impacted so many people's lives in such a beautiful way. Speaking as a banana, I'm curious about this. So do you think of baseball in terms of Banana Ball rules now?
Yes. I've been to one legit baseball game, and whenever they throw ball 4, I'm like, what is this guy doing? He's not running to first. He's not trying to get to it. I'm like, oh man, this is boring baseball. This is a banana ball. So yeah, the thought of me ever, it's not in the cards, like I said, but the thought of me ever getting on an actual baseball field and playing the actual game of baseball the way it was originally played, I don't think I could do it. I wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Yeah. That's hard to comprehend, being as I've done it my whole life. Like, that was my first one and only true love, is the actual game. And now just a few years have changed my whole outlook on the whole game. It's crazy to think about.
Give everyone a quick overview that may not be familiar with Banana Ball. What are some of the core rule changes compared to baseball?
Ball four sprint. Every player in the field has to touch the baseball before the runner can stop or before they can get him out.
Uh-huh.
There's no mound visits, just to keep the game moving a little faster.
Yep.
There's a new one. It's the golden batter rule. So anytime throughout the game, you might not even heard about this one yet.
I don't think I have.
Anytime throughout the game, you can put any batter. Say, like, our best hitter, in my opinion, would be Dan Oberst. Okay,
Uh-huh.
So in a tight game, he could swing strike 3, strike out, and then walk to the dugout, and he could be the very next batter to come up. He wouldn't even have to leave the box.
And you can do that like once per game? Or
once per game, you can have a golden batter rule. So he could strike out, and he wouldn't even have to leave the box, count and reset, and he'd hit again.
Interesting.
And any time throughout the game, fan catches a foul ball, I'll tell you, that is my favorite rule. But then again, it's a rule that has made me mad quite a few times throughout the season.
Yeah.
Because I had a foul ball got called once or twice. I believe it was twice, and they were both in one was in Syracuse and one was in Staten Island. So both times in New York, and I get one at bat every 2 or 3 games because the other game I'll be pitching or one game I'll be playing first. So I get one at bat every 2 or 3 games, and to foul out to a fan, that gets under your skin, especially being the Stilts guy.
Oh yeah, and they're all like wanting to catch that more than anyone else. Like they want to catch your foul ball.
Come on, it's not helping us. And then the 2-hour time limit. Like I said, it keeps the game going fast. And then you can't swap pitchers in the middle of the inning. If you do it, like there's no warm up pitches. It's got to be bang bang,
boom,
come out there, get it done. But yeah, just rules to make it a little bit more fun and keep the fans involved and keep the game a little bit faster, so you're not sitting there for 4 hours getting bored.
Yeah, I love it. I think you all are creating a pathway to make baseball more exciting for the viewing experience. I mean, you know it as a former player. I know it as a former player. Like when you're in the game, it doesn't feel that long. Like you're just invested in it. You're playing. But what we need to be mindful of is there are so many outside influences that are, causing people to maybe be distracted from the old 3.5 hour baseball game. So definitely think that there are things that maybe at the major league level they could incorporate a little bit for sure.
I agree.
But yeah,
time clock that was nice, but it's not it. The games are still a little long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're 10 feet in the air, I just got to ask, does that like tire your legs out to be on stilts?
I'll tell you what, my legs have never been strong on my body. I was never an athlete who worked out. I just relied on basic talent. But man, I got to show you. Check this out. Like I've never had that. Like that there, never. And like I don't work out ever at all. Like I said, and it's so yeah. If that answers the question, they definitely they go through some training throughout the whole span of season. For those of you that are listening on the podcast and couldn't just see that, just realize that Stilts just looked like an anatomy like section in like a textbook. Like all it was just muscles on his thighs. Now I've run 7 marathons in my life, and my legs have never looked like that ever. Oh, see, dude,
that was freakish.
If I'm running, something's after me.
Well, at least it only has to take you like 4 steps to get away if you're on stilts.
Yeah,
at least.
That's true.
What's it like to run on stilts?
All right, so everybody says, "Oh, you run slow." All right, I'm very slow on the stilts. We averaged it out, and it takes me 2 Yadier Molinas to first base. So Yadier Molina can run to second in the time I run to first. So
that's a bad unit of measurement for speed. Like you don't want to be known as multiple Yadier Molinas.
Biko and Josh did that up for me, like, and they put it on the broadcast and everything live during the game. It was, I don't know why they did that.
I mean, that's definitely a speed.
But running, I can run from if you've ever seen me hit the ball and run to first base, that's me running at 50%.
Okay.
I never push my limits over 50% because I fail at 40%. So I can only imagine how it would be if I was really, really running hard as I could. So I've got to imagine running in heels that are about this tall and keeping your legs straight. My legs never bend in the middle. I'm just moving my legs in a complete motion. They stay straight.
Yep.
It's mainly just my hips that are moving.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense because when you think about running, it is, the human foot plants and then it pushes off, but you're on essentially like pegs. You're on heels as you're putting it.
Right.
And those don't bend, those don't push.
a straight piece of metal. My shoe has one bolt in the very front of it and one bolt in the very back, and I put my foot in the shoe that's bolted there, and I've got a restraint above right below my knee where it bends. So nothing below my knee can bend. My foot's stuck at a 90-degree angle the whole time I'm in the stilts. So there's no ankle movement while I'm running. So that's mainly the hard part. Okay. That's where it gets complicated.
Okay. Now, the saying "big tree fall hard" comes to mind. Tell us about maybe a fall you've had.
All right. So I don't say that word often.
Oh yeah, sorry. All right, well,
we're not in season. We're all good. I ain't gonna get back on those things for a while. I've since I was 10 years old, I've failed 4 times my whole entire life, and 2 of those times were during season this year. Never in front of people. Besides once, I was walking through a wet concourse, and it was some smooth concrete, and it had been raining, and I looked like a newborn giraffe. My legs just split completely apart, and I hit the concrete just as hard as you could imagine. And this was, where was we at? We was in Portland, Maine, and that was like a 85 to 9,000 person seat stadium. So there was a ton of people around that whole entire venue that seen that, and they all ran up to me. And whenever I'm on the stilts, I try to do things on my own, because I'm the one, like, I'm so used to how my body can bend, how I can stand up, which way, like, it's just, it all comes natural. It's weird to explain, but people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, let me help you up." I'm like, "No, just let me get up. I'll end up hurting you if you're trying to help me get up. Like, and it's not fun.
No,
it gets your emotion. That's the only time I've ever failed during the show, and it gets your emotions going really, really bad. Really
bet.
bad.
I can't imagine. Like, and I assume your natural instinct is to brace, but if you're that high up and you try and brace with your arms, like, that's how you break arms.
Well, I've never, knock on wood, I've never broken anything on the stilts, but I've broken this wrist here 3 times, and I've broken this one twice. And that's the last thing I do whenever I go to fall. I fell running to first, and then I fell in the concourse there. And I land right on my side intentionally. So if I go down, I'm not going to catch myself. I'm going to land right on this shoulder, on either one. Like I take very good care of these wrists now, because this not this past season. We just finished up, but the season before, I went all season in a hard cast because this left hand was broke. So, and I know, oh man, there's nothing more aggravating than being on the baseball field and not being able to swing a bat or catch a baseball.
Oh yeah, I mean, I with the energy that follows the games, and you guys are playing in front of sellout crowds, and basically every location you go to, the idea of just sitting there and not getting to join in on this really, really exciting and fan engaging thing, I understand. That's like going on the IL for banana ball is way worse than the majors. So talk to us. I want to get back to banana ball because I think it is such a fun and exciting brand of baseball. How do you guys go about preparing for games? Like you roll into town. Is there a rehearsal? Is it what goes into games prior to even showing up?
It's it's so hard to explain. We get there to the field. Sometimes not. About 50% of the times we'll see the stadium we're playing at the next day prior to the game day, and we'll go out there. We'll have BP, get to read balls off the wall, just things like that, just to get comfortable. And with me, those days that we get there prior to game day that's the time when, of course, I get on my stilts. As soon as I get there, I get stretched up, and I walk around the whole facility. Yeah, lower decks, elevators, everything, because I know where our go-to points are, as far as like where we got to be after the game, where we got to be before the game, where are my spots at that I have to be during the game. And I find my easiest routes to those spots before there's 10 to 15,000 people in the stadium. So I have everything pre-planned out in my head. So that's the main thing that I do. And I'll get out there and take a few cuts in BP, and I'll shag a few balls in the outfield. But whenever you move to game day is you get there, you have like 3 rounds of 5 BP, and then you have entertainment before that, actually. Okay. We get there, we go over dances, planned celebrations is what we call them. Like
Okay.
First run celebration, second run celebration, all of that. Like if hit by pitch, we're doing this. If DR does a backflip in the center field this game, then we're going to go out here and do this. Like every scenario that you can have in that baseball game, we have a celebration to put into place after that scenario takes place.
Okay, so
That's kind of how that works.
It's a reactive script. It's
Correct.
not necessarily like, oh, okay, we're gonna like it's
Right.
You're still playing the game. It's still
100%.
being played, and it would be an impossible sport to try and script. Like no one,
100%.
you know, you hear these things like, oh, the NFL, it's scripted, it's this and that. You couldn't with baseball. Like it's just such a there's so many different variables in the sport. So that is really interesting that it is purely, reactive in how we celebrate, how we interact. I love that.
If you can script the 450-foot home run, tell me how, because I'll give you I'll give you whatever to learn how to do that. Just naturally.
So you play the party animals each time you take the field in your touring. How often do they win?
51% more than we do.
Okay.
They came out one game. They came out one game ahead of us this past season. In Cooperstown, that was the do or die game. It came down to that very last game, and they came out with the win. So the Party Animals took the 2023 season. So that tells you right there it's not scripted.
Yeah. The Generals were not beating the Globetrotters 51% of the time. So that's got to kind of sting a little bit.
That's what I tell everybody. It's super competitive, and you're not going to have a more competitive baseball game than you will when you're playing the same exact guys that you practice with every day, that you're on the bus with every day, that you're on the plane with every day. Like you do everything with these guys, and you've got that friendship that turns into something completely different whenever you're on both sides of the field. And I think it makes the guys play more competitively because, like, if my best friend on the Party Animals is Joe Lytle, and I wanted to strike that dude out every single time he came up, just a lot more because he was my best friend. Like that, it just brings out the competitiveness in all of us because we know that we get some bragging rights in the diner whenever we're out there eating food after the game's over. So
that's awesome. Like I remember growing up and you'd play a kid that you knew or you went to school with, and it always had just a little bit extra to it.
A little bit.
It had a little bit extra to it. And so the fact that you guys you're traveling together across the country to so many different locations, I can only imagine the amplification that happens there. Now, speaking, I think it's an interesting angle to talk about the travel because you guys put in a lot of miles in the summer there. So describe what life's like on that tour.
So with me working my legs as much as I do, I am not a fan of travel days. Getting on planes are not comfortable to me. The laying around in the airport, that's not comfortable. Getting on our bus, our buses are nice, but they're not comfortable, especially not when we drove to New York, back from New York, drove to New York, and we did that. We made that trip twice within a month, I believe. And that's just those two locations, like we're constantly traveling all the time. And this is my first time ever traveling like this. And you definitely don't get as much sleep as you do when you're back home in your bed, laying with your pillow under your head and all that.
Well, would travel be easier and more comfortable if you just took the stilts off?
Yeah, I got to start doing that. That's a great idea.
So what was the coolest place you went to last summer then, or in the last 2 summers?
Last 2 summers, it's probably one of the smallest places we've been to. It's the most meaningful place that we've been to, in my opinion. It's not Rickwood Field. It's not Cooperstown, New York. Those are amazing. But I played in Columbus, Georgia. That's 45 minutes from my hometown, and I seen more people there that I knew than I did people I didn't know, and that stadium held like 3,000 people.
Wow!
So that was by far a memory I'll never forget. That was my debut on that field. That was, a matter of fact, that was my my first ever pitching debut I made on that field, and I had at least 30 family members there.
Wow!
And then just so many people that I knew from my little town. It brought out tears the whole night. And I was actually just getting over a concussion. I had just ran into the wall. My nose was all messed up. I had a big old goose egg on my head. That was my first ESPN interview. So that was super cool. So a lot of things stood out for Columbus, even though it was just a small little park like that.
How cool is that? Like that would be so much fun to be able to do that, to bring in that much family to watch you do something that's so fun and unique.
It was amazing.
So what's the location that stands out the most in terms of passion? Like, where have you seen a crowd that maybe matched the energy? Because I watched you guys a couple years back in Kansas City, and it was a lot of like, we had a blast. It was a great time, but you guys brought the energy. Has there ever been a place that you've gone to and been like, whoa, like,
man, I don't, I'm not,
or maybe that's your home field. I don't know.
Well, Columbus is the closest field. Grayson to my hometown, but Grayson Stadium, it's a lot of local people. There's always 30 states worth of people there coming from 30 different states. But I mean, the energy that they bring at Grayson Stadium is going to be hard to match. But I think as far as like passion wise, where I just stopped and looked and I was like, wow, I'm doing this here, it'd definitely be Cooperstown.
Okay. Is there anything that stands out about Cooperstown?
That was the most uncomfortable stadium that I was ever at. It was by far not built for a guy.
Is it tiny? Yeah.
So there they keep like rakes and stuff. They've got this right behind home plate. Okay, so it's home plate, and then it's about 4.5 foot tall, and that's where you get the rakes to tamp them out. All their like equipment is pretty much right there, and I could not fit my stilts. You could stand my stilts up in the dugout, and they were like 3 or 4 inches from touching the ceiling in the dugout. So there was no shot of me coming out of that dugout. And then I came out of where they drive the lawnmower out to cut the grass right behind home plate. I swung the big back gate doors open, and I stood up, and I look like a contortionist when I have to get out of small places like that because my knees are higher up than my face is. I'm just all leaned down. It looked crazy. And I once I stepped out on the field, and I just pretty much just looked around, and I stopped for a second. This is the only time I've ever done that. I stopped and I looked around, and I'm like, this is a dream. Yeah. Like, this is crazy. And that's where it really hit me.
Do you have a picture of you coming out there? Like, because I imagine like the gates swing open. I mean, you would look like a legend if you had like a picture of you in Cooperstown, basically walking out onto it.
I'm sure there's one somewhere.
Oh, that's so cool. I can see why that's a memory for you. Do you have any like pregame rituals or superstitions that you go through?
I do. I'm a very religious guy. I always go out, and my health is always the thing that's on my mind. My safety, my health on the stilts. I don't want my knees to go out. I want to take care of my knees, my hips, all of those things. And every single game with the Bananas, before VIB starts, I go out to center field. I stretch, and throughout my whole stretching routine, I just ask God, protect me and keep me free from hurt, harm, and danger, and help me impact every single child or whoever's here. Like, I just ask to be a big impact. I want to impact at least one person that is in that park that night. And I haven't had a bad show night yet where I ended the night and I was just mad or upset. So it sounds like you were exactly at your calling. Like, what you're supposed to be doing is exactly that. And based on all accounts and personal experience, you have done that. Like, you show up at the park and you impact at least one. And I know it's more than that, which is just, that's gotta be just one of the most fulfilling and rewarding things you could ever imagine doing. Just bringing joy to people. It is. I always make it a point to myself to put myself in their shoes. What interaction what kind of interaction would I have wanted if I was that kid looking up to myself right now? And I always just try to plus that times 10.
You are so cool. I love that, Dakota. Now, speaking of kids, we're getting towards the end of the show here, but I have 2 nephews that play baseball.
Awesome.
I shot my sister-in-law and brother-in-law a text a couple days ago and was just like, hey, do the boys have any questions for Stilts? And they were like, oh my gosh, they're gonna love this. So I have a question from each of them that I'm gonna ask you. And it just goes to show, I mean, as soon as I asked that, it was like, no way, they're gonna freak out about this. So you have an impact on so many people, but kids specifically are drawn to you. And it's easy to see why. So from my 11-year-old nephew, or almost 11-year-old nephew, Jax, is it harder for you to find your release point, I assume, on the mound since you're so high up?
Whenever I first started, first time I ever pitched, I used what's called sheetrock stilts. And the sheetrock stilts, they're way heavier. I don't use them anymore, but I could stand still and there wasn't a lot of motion. The sheetrock stilts, the way my body moved, I wasn't having to stay constantly moving like I do with the peg stilts now. And whenever I pitched that way, no, it wasn't too hard. It was simple, hit your target just like you would any other time. But once I moved over to the peg stilts, you're constantly having to step. So if you're on them stilts and you stop moving, you're literally just going to tip over. You're going to fall right over. And if you stay moving, it's great. But that's the struggle I found with the pitching on the new stilts is I'm constantly having to bounce back and forth and then find my delivery. So there's no come and set for me. There's never a still moment while I'm on the mound. So that is mainly the thing that I struggled with. I wouldn't say my release point because I don't know.
You just throw
hit where I'm throwing most of the time. Yeah. But the not standing still, that took a lot of practice. That was a big transition.
So you're telling us that you balk a lot. Like anytime someone's on.
There's no such thing as a balking banana ball.
Perfect. That is really interesting. I kind of want to take a quick look at the hitting side of it because I think you provided a ton of insight there from the pitching side of it. And I just want to get, just the basic overview because explaining the difference in the stilts makes a lot of sense. Talk just briefly about, what it's like to find your swing on stilts.
Of course, the first time that I ever was in the box swinging, I was using the sheetrock stilts, like I said. And at that point, I would get in the box and I would plant myself. Mm-hmm. And there would be no movement from my hips down.
Yeah.
And it was literally that. That's all I could do. And with the new stilts, here, I'll stand up and kind of show you a better idea. So with the new stilts, it's big on your timing. You've got to have perfect timing. And when normally on your 2 feet, you're set back and you're loaded and you're ready to explode.
Yeah.
Okay, but on these stilts, like I said, you can't stand still. So you're having to keep your eye on the pitcher, figure out his release point where when he lets go, you're having to read whether it's because they throw me curves, they throw me sliders, they throw all that to me. And I'm up here in the batter's box doing this right here the whole time. And if I'm hitting off of my front foot like this, I'm still staying back, but I'm not getting any power. And that's when I ground out the center or to the middle infield, shortstop. Whenever I come off of that back foot and I can push forward like that, like right here, then I'm free. Like if I can come off of that back foot, that is the difference between hitting it up against the wall or grounding out to the shortstop.
These guys are throwing you curveballs.
I've got a video. I've got a video. I'm going to send it to you after this. It's of Joe Lytle. It's a
it's your friend. Yeah. It's your buddy.
He's a catcher, and I walked up into the box, and you can hear everything we say on Joe's little camera that he's got while he's catching. I said, "What's up, sexy?" And that's what I said to him. And then he said, "Curveball," and he threw his fingers down like this. And they threw me one, it dropped in there, and I laced it to center field.
Yes. So. Good. That's how you get them to stop throwing you curveballs. I guess they'd probably hang a little bit more if you've got to throw them 10 feet in the air. But
and then Brett Tomko, I think is his name.
Yeah, former player, right? Former pitcher.
Oh man, that joker was. I was hitting off of him whenever we played the MLB PAA team, and he was throwing every bit of 94 to me.
No way.
Oh man, I can hit that. Like that's what the guys throw. They're throwing like 90s to me, 90, 91. Like I tell them, throw it fast because I'll get out front if you throw me some soft crap. I don't like that. Like throw me the ball. The harder it comes in, the harder it's gonna leave. And he struck me out, and I felt silly. I fouled 2 of them off,
and nobody caught him.
Nobody caught him. I fouled him off. I was just glad to hit it. I got back in the dugout, and Coach Gillum said he was throwing them pretty hard to you. I said, "Put me back in. I want to go hit off of him again." That was good.
Oh, that's great. And I that actually kind of makes sense in my mind. Like the idea that throwing hard at you wouldn't be as challenging, specifically if you're having to be so succinct with your swing. You can't. Yes, you're rocking with your legs and you're trying to utilize them as much as you can, but still at the end of the day, I imagine it's real like hands meet ball. Like let's find a barrel.
Throw your hands at the baseball. That's all I do. I keep my hands inside. That's what I tell myself while I'm up there. All through back, hit off of your back foot. Keep your hands inside. If you do that, you'll get a barrel.
But I saw a video of you on Instagram where you it was close to the warning track, if not off it.
It was, I know what you're talking about. The wall in left field in Grayson Stadium is 320, I believe, something like that. And that ball, TrackMan rated at like 305.
Oh.
Where it hit the ground. So it rolled to the wall.
So you're saying this summer, offseason, you're going to get in the weight room. And this summer, you're going to do it.
I woke up this morning. I do 100 to 150 push-ups every morning when I wake up. So these little arms ain't going to be little for long.
Oh gosh. Oh, if you ever hit a home run on stilts.
Oh, it's going to happen. I put that in my end of season review. They said, they asked me where I wanted to improve and what do I see myself doing better next year. And I said, I will hit a home run. I left it at that. I said, I will hit one out of the park next year. That's all I got to say.
Oh yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
So do you swing just a normal bat?
33-30.
Okay. Just a normal wood bat.
Nope. It's 271. Yep. 271 Louisville Slugger. Yep.
Nice little balance to it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And I did see something else, and I'll get to Hayden's question here because I do want to touch on that and stay true to that. But I saw you had a glove that was like, how big was that glove? It was giant.
It's huge. It's no joke. About 2 foot probably. Give me 1 sec. I'll run and grab it.
Okay, sounds good. Dude, look at that thing. We got a big one from Mizuno here, but I think yours is longer.
So this one here, live scale right beside me. So it's just as big as my whole upper half.
Oh my word! I love that it's all just finger stalls. Like this one. I told them
they should have put right here on the side 20,000.
See, this one. Everything's bigger. It's a normal glove that's bigger. Yours is just a regular glove with like 2 feet of finger stalls.
And see, it actually works. So like if I catch it right here in the very, very end, it funnels right down to me, and I still pull it out right here in the pocket. So it'll hit here, roll down, and it'll be exactly where I need to transfer it at.
That is the coolest thing. Who got you that glove?
Wilson sent it to me, right? I don't remember this guy's name. He's the Wilson glove guy.
Yeah.
He's the big glove dude.
Oh, Asso?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he sent that to me, actually. There was a video of him holding, there was a black prototype of that one, and he's holding it, and he's throwing the ball in it, and he's just looking at it, and I was like, oh, that looks familiar. And they said, keep your eyes open, and then I got one not too long after that.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. I just saw that, and I had to ask you because I thought that was pretty awesome.
I made some praise with it at first, too.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I got one that was probably 7 inches off the ground. I got down that low there. I got it. And that was actually, I kept the winning run of that inning.
No way.
Scoring. Yeah.
Oh, man. So you don't just pitch and hit. You play a little in the field?
Oh, yeah. I play, whenever I pitch, they'll put me into pitch with 2 outs. But whenever normally I'll hit and then I'll go play first. So I'll get an at bat with 2 outs, and then they'll put me into play first with the big glove for 3 outs. And there's been some times of the ball hitting the pocket and falling right out, and I just got to look down there and look at it. And there's one video of me kicking it across to EJ, our second baseman there.
I was gonna say, you're helpless. Like, I can't.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do. I need one of those little grabbers that people pick up sticks with.
Oh, that'd be awesome. You just pull it out of your back and that's so good. That's so good. Okay, so I want to get back to that last question. So my I believe he's a 14-year-old nephew now, Hayden, wanted to ask you a question that is, what's been your favorite experience as a banana?
Other than the Columbus trip that we talked about earlier with my family and all there, definitely Cooperstown. That's every baseball player's dream, is to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I'm just blessed enough to have a picture of my face in there on my stilts. So just able to be a part of an organization that makes it to the Baseball Hall of Fame, I tell everyone, that's probably the biggest accomplishment that I will ever have. Hope not, but it's hard to beat that one.
That is truly a baseball player's dream. And I imagine if you went back in time and told yourself, 3-4 years ago, like, Dakota, you're going to end up in Cooperstown in 4 years. You would have been like, what? Like,
be fine.
It's surreal to see, but it's also, it makes sense talking to you and seeing your humility and seeing your willingness to just do something. I mean, that should be applauded, because I wasn't getting up on stilts. I don't know how to ride a unicycle. Like, these things that you're just willing to do, just to try them and just to experience it. It's so cool. And I'm really excited, because I have a feeling you've got some more tricks up your sleeve.
There's some good stuff coming.
Yeah. I'm really excited to follow along. Do you want to go ahead and let everyone know how they can, follow your story throughout the upcoming season?
100%. TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Dakota Stilts Albritton. Pretty much any social media you can look up. Dakota Stilts Stilts is my middle name. Dakota Stilts Albritton. And you won't struggle to find me. I'm constantly posting. I post here and there. So yeah.
You've started to blow up. I think people are starting to get wind of it, and obviously they're big fans of yours.
Well, it means the world to me, honestly. Never in a million years did I ever think I would have a single fan, more or less hundreds of them.
That is awesome. You're a tremendous guest. We'll definitely have to reach out as the season goes on. Excited to see what continues to grow with Banana Ball, and more specifically with Stilts and his version of Banana Ball. I still have like tons and tons of questions, so we might have to try and find a time to have you back on the show.
Hey, whenever. I'm doing nothing. I'm probably about to get my dog and go for a run. So,
well, Dakota, thank you so much for joining the show today. We're pulling for you, and we're hoping that the Bananas bring back the title next summer.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm excited to see what the future holds as well.
You're the man. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Sounds good.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Batter Up Podcast, featuring none other than Stilts from the Savanah Bananas himself. If you have enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe for future episode releases. I'm Tyler, and I'll see you next time.